I have found through my own lived experience and through working with countless moms, a lot of us get surprised by the difficulties in that transition. It's not just, hey, yes, you have a happy, healthy baby and now everything's good and you're sailing off into happily ever after. It's far from that.
You know what? I'd rather be happy than being right. That is true. It's like your body says, okay. Hi, everyone. Today I have Gabriella Bores. She's the founder and CEO of Mom's Mind Matter Coaching. As a licensed therapist with a certification in perinatal mood and anxiety disorder, she found a passion in helping moms overcome anxious thoughts in the postpartum period so that they can experience more joy, feel relaxed, and be present with their baby and family, which is so important. Thank you so much, Gabriella, to be on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I think it's so important to talk about this subject because a lot of people assume that once you have a baby, you're supposed to be happy and that's the end.
Right.
Sometimes even our identity changes. We can find ourselves, we doubt ourselves, we don't know how good we're going to be as a mom. We don't want to repeat sometimes our mom's patterns, or we're afraid to make mistakes. So tell us a little bit about what you do with your clients.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to. Right. So I completely agree. I think we spend a lot of time in pregnancy thinking that birth is the finish line, right? And so, to a lot of moms' surprise, postpartum is an entirely different experience where I call it kind of like a metamorphosis, right? Where there's this evolving, this becoming. They've recently coined the term matrescence, right? The becoming of a mother, right? That expansion, that metamorphosis that happens. I have found through my own lived experience and through working with countless moms, a lot of us get surprised by the difficulties in that transition. It's not just, hey, yes, you have a happy, healthy baby and now everything's good and you're sailing off into happily ever after. It's far from that. And so I think the way that I experienced postpartum, I did have a lot of postpartum anxiety when I had my son 4 years ago. Very isolating experience. It was during the pandemic, right at the front part of the pandemic when everything was just different, right? The world was not going on as we knew it. And so I really clung pretty rigidly to his schedule, to my performance as a mom. Am I doing this right? Those types of things. And I could have really used somebody like me back then. And so when I got pregnant with my daughter is when I pursued the certification to become the PMHC, the perinatal mood and anxiety disorders therapist. And I learned so much when I took that certification that really birthed in me a lens of self-compassion. And so I learned to view myself differently as a mom. I learned to give myself grace, to be unique, right? In my approach, to not be afraid to stand out, to not shrink to fit. I love the name of this podcast. So yeah, I think through my own journey of becoming, I really have developed a passion for helping other moms feel that same kind of like relief when they find their voice of self-compassion as well, and they're able to mother from that perspective. It's life-changing for sure. So that's what I do. I coach moms postpartum. A lot of them find me anywhere from right after birth all the way to that first year. But usually it's when they try to reintegrate kind of parts of their old self with motherhood. So when they return to work or when the baby's a little bit older and maybe they've survived that fourth trimester, that seems to be sort of the sweet spot for me to work with moms with so much love of like, hey, it's okay. Yes, this is really hard. And yes, you can do this and you're going to find your own authentic version of motherhood, but let's get you there. So that's the privilege of what I get to do with postpartum moms.
And that's beautiful because you get them in this very vulnerable stage where they are hungry to learn and to be better. I mean, as coaches, I think that's so important to have somebody that is coachable, that is open to learn and open to experience all these different things. But you said that you had your son first and then you have your daughter. What were the biggest difference in you as a postpartum mom between the two kids?
That's such a good question. I think for me, I, for a long time, held myself to pretty high standards of perfectionism, performance, and I carried that into motherhood the first go around. It was crushing to me if I felt like I failed or I let him down in any way. As he got older in the toddler years, I kind of learned, oh man, like I am going to make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. And what do I do with that? What do I want to do about that? And again, I feel like it was a really unique combo of the training that I was sitting under and my own sort of personal expansion, if you will, where I was like, okay, I have a choice. I can keep kind of going this route of trying to be perfect, trying to fit this mold, and making myself absolutely crazy, right? Or I can go behind door number two and say, okay, what is this like if I can kind of release myself from some of these standards, these expectations? And I would say that my daughter helped me sort of try on compassion. I say that a lot with my moms, try it on for size and see how it felt.
Hmm.
And it was so much lighter. It was so much lighter to mother in that way, just knowing that we're all doing the best that we can here and failure is okay and it's actually necessary to learn from. And really, she helped me embrace that. She still does, but yes, walking in that freedom of, hey, I don't have to perform to show my love. I can actually really be kind to myself in the process, and that's going to help me mother better.
I think it's so important to give ourselves grace. And when we are in those moments when we are so fast to judge ourselves and say, oh, you should have done it this way or should have done it the other way. At the end of the day, now there is no mistakes, because even if you make a mistake, that is going to open an opportunity for you to try something different and see if that different thing works for you.
You're
But
constantly learning, constantly evolving. Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, like, I know when you are a new mom, one of the fears is like, am I going to do this right? Do I have all the answers? And all is
Right.
a little bit like a package of common questions that every new mom
Mhm.
has. But aside of that, what do you think is the common denominator in all these moms that are searching for help?
Yeah. Well, I will say I specifically work and resource with the anxious moms, but I know just statistically 1 in 5 moms encounter some form of postpartum depression, right? Which is a very real, very serious problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say 1 in 7 are, that's the statistics of who struggles with postpartum anxiety. And so we hear a lot about postpartum depression. I don't think postpartum anxiety has gotten as much airtime. I think we kind of normalize it as, oh, well, you're a new mom. It's okay. You're just worried and worked up about things, and we minimize the suffering or we normalize it. And so I think that's one of the greatest dangers, especially with the women that I'm working with, is like people try to sort of sweep it away or say, it'll be okay. You're just a new mom. It'll go away. And for a lot of women, it's so pervasive that they feel like they can't function. They can't enjoy time with their baby. And I know that was the case for me too. It was robbing me of so much joy. For
You
example,
were in your
Google
head.
search everything. Yes, exactly. Like Google is not our friend in this time period. And so we have these sort of normalized things. Oh, just Google it or look it up or do these things. And I think for a lot of moms, that sort of perpetuates the worried state. And it's not normal. It's not supposed to be that way.
Do you see a big difference between moms that had their first baby and another mom that perhaps already has the second and the third one? Do you see a big difference? Because I noticed that, of course, we're different parents with each of our kids, right? Each of our kid has different needs. But nowadays that we see the social media and we see other people being more vocal about things, if you already have a kid and you didn't have the social media, then you go by instinct. What you got is telling you to do and you go ahead and do it. But now you're seeing other moms on social media and they're doing things different. Do you notice that perhaps the second or the third kid is more stressful and they have more anxiety because now they're comparing?
I definitely think comparison is a pervasive problem right now. The societal pressures and the expectations and what we see online, I think it's really damaging our authentic motherhoods. Yeah, absolutely. I would say the people that are in my program, there's a good mix of first time moms, second time moms, third. I would say postpartum anxiety doesn't discriminate. And sometimes it's a unique combination of factors. If there was any measure of trauma in birth, right, or any complications postpartum with health, that can be a prerequisite where we see those anxious thoughts come on really strongly. So I would say it varies. It's dependent on the person, but you're right. I do think, and we talk about this often in my coaching calls because it's a group program. So all of us are together on this call and we're chatting through what are the pressures that you're feeling? What are you looking at online? What do you feel like you're not doing enough of? And how do we reframe, right? Reframe those pervasive, sort of unconscious sometimes expectations and change them into what feels authentic.
Right. And then try to just listen to yourself, I guess, right? Because at the end of the
Yes.
day, The baby is the baby for the first time, and you are a mom for the first time or the second time, but
Oh, yeah.
still you're learning. So the baby doesn't have any
Mhm.
expectations. He's going to be happy
Yeah.
with whatever you're going to give him as long as he
Yeah.
feels secure and nurtured and fed and changed.
Mhm.
That's pretty much,
Exactly.
right? With these moms, do you ever had a situation where you say, wait a minute, this is a little bit out of my league?
Yeah, yeah. I would say I have some pretty unique credentials with also being a licensed therapist that really
Mhm.
help me triage that type of thing. Yeah, so I absolutely have moms who are also in therapy or are also on medication. That's the benefit of being a coach who's also a licensed therapist is I think I was educated to work with it. And yes, the program itself, the Motherload, is not for everybody.
Mhm.
It's for those anxious moms that are really trying to do the deep dive and do the inner healing work to find that relaxation and joy and presence. So yeah, I definitely had talks with moms who are more so depressed and have connected them with other resources because it requires a different form of intervention. But I do think I kind of have a uniqueness to that in that I have the both credentials in a way too.
What do you think should be something that a new mom should be notice or look for to realize that maybe something is going on with
Yeah,
me? Maybe it's not just my
yeah.
hormones, there is something deeper. What do you think they should
Right.
look for?
That's such a good question. The number one thing I would say is irritability. So, how irritable do you feel? How impatient do you feel? How personally do you feel worn down, just exhausted, drained, and burnt out to the point where, yeah, you're not enjoying this? This isn't what you thought. Maybe you find yourself like snapping at your partner more or judging yourself a lot too and
Mm.
being a really harsh critic and shaming yourself for not getting this perfectly right. It can manifest in so many different ways. Of course, I'm big on somatic symptoms too. So it's going to show up in your physical body. You're going to have those signals, as I call them, maybe digestive issues, maybe feeling the heart palpitations, your heart racing, the sweat, all of it that can build up into a really strong signal of, hey, your body telling you enough is enough. I can't keep living this way. And usually that is right when they find me, when their bodies are like, this is too much. I can't do it. I can't keep this up.
And what exercise do you advise them to do? Like, let's say somebody's listening to you right now and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like that. I'm having this rage right now, this
Yes, rage
anxiety
is a big one.
to the end. I'm like, I can't take
Mhm.
it. Because we see sometimes videos of moms that the baby's crying and they're like, stop, I can't just take this anymore.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what's a tool that they can use to shift from that moment?
Yeah, that's so good. Well, so the program that I've developed is 12 weeks and it's really progressive where you start with sort of demystifying, decoding what these anxious signals actually mean. What are they trying to
Hmm.
tell you? What's underneath them and what are they trying to protect? First and foremost, how are you trying to maintain security and safety through your anxiety? So we start there, code, demystify, we get them feeling really familiar with themselves or this part of themselves. And then we move into resourcing, coping. So I spend a whole week on the biological ways to soothe the nervous
Hmm.
system because nobody is above their own nervous system. We spend a whole week on that. And so some of the tools, obviously, I emphasize is the power of the breath. I do a lot of powerful mindful visualizations, exercises to lean into the the strength of a worrier, right? Is that their mind can imagine things for sure, like so far in the future or the worst case scenario comes naturally. So I like to lean into that imagination, that strength, if you will, and try to resource them with here's how we can focus on something that's going to be grounding rather than accelerating your anxious thoughts. So yeah, that's week 3. And then it kind of progresses from there. We work on, restructuring thoughts. We work on developing self-compassion and tackling limiting beliefs. And then I have a whole week where we focus on your partnership too and navigating what that might look like when you're really anxious and you're not feeling like yourself and you're trying to be a mom and a wife or partner, everything else. We go into that. And then from there we expand, leaning on your social support networks and maintaining boundaries if that's needed, and then just reinforcing all of this healing. So it's a pretty progressive program. But I would say if somebody just needs one tool today that would help ground them, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, I love the breath. I mean, it's just the most
Hmm.
powerful tool that's always at our disposal. It's available at any time.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different ways that I teach it. I'm all for trying to regulate like all the senses too. So if you can put on a calming song or maybe like a sound bath playlist, something like that, that's going to bring your physical body into relaxation and then accompany that with some deep diaphragmatic breathing. I teach different methods inside the course, but that's going to be a good start to get you to a place where you can actually think. Your logical brain comes back online and you can make the best decision for what's next. But you have to start there because nobody is above that initial bodily reaction, the somatic symptom.
Right. And the breathing keeps you present. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes we get anxious because we're thinking about what we didn't do, or we're thinking about what we need to do. But keeping us in the moment sometimes is all we need to just be centered and present and realize that whatever is going on around us is not as bad, right?
Yeah, it helps you come back, right? Because anxiety takes you into the future. So yeah, I teach a lot of mindfulness too. So even just during a feeding, can you just stare at your baby's hands? Can you just notice what they look like, or can you hold them? Notice how it feels to the touch, right? So bringing them back into the present moment definitely helps to ease some of those physical symptoms for sure.
How important is the tribe? The people around those moms that are going through all this. Sometimes they don't have a partner. Sometimes they're single moms. Sometimes they are in a foreign country and don't have any family. So how important is the tribe for them?
Yeah, for everyone, it is imperative. And for me, I would say it's one of the most heartbreaking things to talk about is just how differently we're mothering now than how it was meant to be, right? And that's for a myriad of reasons. I mean, yeah, people have geographic distance now more than ever. People have differing circumstances that maybe prevents that. But I feel like I can speak to that. I've witnessed that personally in my life of just the village not being what you thought and having to kind of feel that defeat in a way of, oh, this isn't what I thought. I feel alone, right? I feel unsupported. And that's the case for so many moms that I meet with. The cool part though is that was really strategically why I designed it to be communal, right? Because it's like we need that. We need to mother together. Maybe it's not coming from the sources that you would have hoped or would have thought, but who do you have in your life to lean on, right? I really we go deep into that. Who are your supports? Who are your people? Who's around, right? Who are you connected to? And how can you make yourself vulnerable in such a way to ask them for support? Because when you're postpartum, you're in a season of receiving support, as much giving, as you're able to do. You need that support. So yeah, I think in my own life and what I encourage a lot of other women to do is find their pods, find their community, find their people. And most often it's with other mothers, because who gets what motherhood is like more than another mother, right? Who's living the same schedule, who can empathize with you. So that's been a really beautiful piece of the coaching that I've done as well, is just seeing them form those bonds and connections and show each other compassion. It's been really beautiful.
And not compare, right? Because every kid develop in their own time. And sometimes it's so hard when they come and say, oh, my kid was out of diaper at this age, or my kids are eating solid at this age. And you're like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? My kid is not doing that. So I think it's so important to stay in your lane. And yeah, let's take whatever feedback I can get from all the moms, but not take it personal if your journey is a little different, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It presses that shame button sometimes, that feeling of inadequacy, right? Or I'm not doing something right, or I'm not doing something enough, which again is a manifestation of the anxiety. So when you really center on a compassionate view of yourself, right, it can help you not compare. It can help you show compassion to others. And that's what I get to witness inside the program, is these moms that truly support each other in that way. It's one of the biggest blessings of my life, honestly, to be able to see how beautifully they respect and love on each other inside.
I love that. Do you do it only online, or do you do your coaching also in person? What side of the world are you?
Yes, yeah, we're in the US. Yeah, I'm in Florida, but my clients are all over. So yeah, I haven't had my first international client yet. Maybe somebody listening wants to be. That would be really neat. But that's what's cool, is like we're not bound by geographic region.
Right.
And we're able to still connect, even though it's this tiny square, right? You develop, you feel like these people, you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think honestly, sometimes the virtual method can make it easier for people to share their stories.
Yeah, especially when you have a little baby and you don't have to pack your bag and pack the baby and go somewhere. But I think it's a give and take. You want the personal touch, but and also the convenience of having to not having to go somewhere. This is so enlightening, and I so appreciate you being here. I'm going to have all your links if any mom is listening to us and is curious to see how you can help her or how can you support her. How soon after the baby is born, usually they look for you?
Oh, yeah. It can be whenever the anxiety shows up and it's to the spot where you feel like you cannot handle it. And that's different for every mom. I've had some start as soon as 5 weeks. I've had some be as late as almost the first birthday. It doesn't discriminate. There's no predictability exactly to the age. But I would say, yeah, when that worry becomes so strong that it's just robbing you of the presence and the joy that you thought you would feel, and you can't shake it. That's the perfect time to join in.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you so much for being here. Is there anything you would like to say to the moms that are listening to you?
Yeah. I would say you're probably doing a lot better than you think you are. I would say this is hard for everyone. I always say it's hard because it's hard. There's nothing personally wrong with you. You're not doing this wrong. This is challenging, and that's okay. And you're going to grow through this experience. Don't wait. I would say if you have like a tug, if you're listening and you're like, I should reach out for support, even if it's not me, connect with support sooner rather than later, because it doesn't have to always feel this way. Motherhood can feel differently, but I promise you, you're probably doing better than you think you are.
And it takes a lot of courage to ask for help. Sometimes we feel like we're being weak or we're not being enough because we're asking for help. And it's actually the contrary. It takes a lot of courage to realize I cannot do this on my own and I need somebody to help me.
Yeah, it's the bravest thing that you can do, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And if you guys have any questions, I'm going to have all Gabriella's links and you can connect with her. And I hope this has been as enlightening to you all as it was for me.